Hi, this is Chloe.
This is Rachel.
And this is Lena, and today we're going to talk about the piece Apollo and Daphne by Bernini.
Bernini was Italian, born in Naples. He mainly worked in Rome, and he worked with Pope Urban VIII, who was a major patron of Bernini. Bernini believed that the purpose of religious art was to teach and inspire the faithful and to serve as propaganda for the Roman Catholic Church.
Bernini is also an artist during the Baroque period.
And during this time period, the Catholic Church had just launched the Counter-Reformation, but Protestantism was still really big.
Oh, that's really interesting.
Yes, and the Treaty of Westphalia in 1648 had just ended the 30 Years' War and given religious freedom
to
Europe. It did.
Where did it give religious freedom to?
To Europe.
Oh, that's
Western
great.
Europe.
Where did Bernini live? In Rome, right?
Well, he was born in Naples, but yes, he did most of his work in Rome.
So his work was mostly dealing with the Counter-Reformation.
Yes,
correct,
and the
Lena.
Catholic Church
that's good.
was trying to become like the main church again because now there was Protestantism. Reformation.
So some of the characteristics of Baroque art are movement,
Emotion.
And time played an important role because the sculptures would catch the story's split-second action, or paintings. In Bernini's case, they're
so
all
like
sculptures.
they caught a split second moment in time, like a photograph.
And they're also very dramatic.
They were dramatic, Chloe. I agree. I like yeah.
So, Lena, what's the story behind this piece?
Well, Bernini did this sculpture about the mythological story of Apollo and Daphne.
Oh.
Apollo is the Greek god. Well, actually, he's the god of a lot of stuff.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
What exactly?
What stuff?
Well, he's the god of the sun and light. Also, he's the god of the arts, especially music and poetry.
Interesting.
Yeah. Some of his little symbols are the lyre. Also, he's the god of archery, so he's got the bow.
He's got everything.
Yeah, and he also has the chariot because he goes across the sky. So, what happened was Apollo had just come back from a recent victory against some kind of dragon, and he saw Cupid playing with his arrows. Well, he wasn't playing with his arrows, but he was using them. And he made fun of Cupid and said that warlike weapons should be used for mighty gods only. So Cupid was all offended. And what he did was he took a sharp gold-tipped arrow and struck Apollo with it. So he was passionately in love with Daphne. And then he took a blunt lead-tipped arrow and struck Daphne, and so she had an intense aversion for love, any kind of love. So Daphne is a nymph, and she's the daughter of the river god, Peneus.
Oh, that's ironic, isn't it? Because she likes the woods.
Yes, so you're right. That is ironic. She does like to play woodland sports, and she loves the spoils of the chase.
Oh.
Yeah. So Daphne, she was constantly rejecting people. Apollo wasn't the only one who chased after her.
Wasn't she was sworn virgin, right? As a nymph, she was...
Yeah, she was a nymph, and so she was a sworn virgin. So because of Cupid's arrow, she was rejecting everybody, not just Apollo. One guy, what he did to get her love was he dressed up like a girl to get her love that way.
Really, how'd that work out for him?
Didn't work out well, Rachie. Did not work out well. What happened was she found out and then just killed him. So, yeah.
Wow.
Not a good story. Yeah, so Apollo was really, really persistent and trying to get her love. And she just kept saying no and running away. And he was just really, really persistent. Almost
like a stalker?
Something like a stalker. Maybe rapey, a little rapey.
A little bit of a harassment.
Yeah, the little rapey there. So, so Daphne asked her father Peneus for help to get away from Apollo's constant pursuit. And so what he did to help her was he turned her into the laurel plant. And that's what this sculpture is depicting right now, is like the split second, like moment in time of her changing in to the beautiful laurel plant. And Apollo is like reaching out for her in the sculpture as she changes, which shows his love for her and her like need for escape. And
so
like
it really goes with the Baroque style because it's the right in the moment, right at the movement and the very dramatic part of the story.
At the climax.
Yes.
Yes.
Apollo and Daphne is a life-size marble structure.
And Bernini was known for his treatment of the marble, the texture of the different elements.
So beautiful.
He would treat the skin completely differently than the fabrics, which would be completely different texture than the wood that from the tree she's turning into and her hair turning into the leaves.
The wood is really nice and chiseled. You can tell it's really firm and hard. It has a very strong quality about it.
And it's ironic because she's also turning into a tree. This piece is a part of a 3-piece series that truly shows Bernini's mastery of marble sculpture.
And this piece also has a lot of Hellenistic undertones through the dynamic and emotional and dramatic nature of the piece. Because in Hellenistic times, they also had just gone through a war, and so there was a lot of emotion. In Baroque, it was the 30 Years' War. And so the two time periods have a lot, their art relates a lot to each other.
Yeah, the Hellenistic period of ancient Greece was like during a time of very much turmoil. Lots of turmoil.
And there was a lot of turmoil throughout Europe during the Baroque period as well with the 30 Years' War.
Their pieces are very similar.
One example of this would be Laocoon and His Sons by the Sculptors of Rhodes. There, as well as Apollo and Daphne by Bernini, the sculpture shows them in the moment, the split-second moment of action during a struggle. And it relates a lot, even though that piece is Hellenistic, it relates a lot to the Baroque characteristics of the sculpture.
They both have to do with Greek mythology also.
Yes, they had to do with mythology as well.
What are they strangling or trying to fight?
Laocoon and His Sons, there's a large serpent that
they're
struggling.
fighting.
They're struggling with the serpent, and
similar to Daphne's struggle against Apollo.
Yes.
Yeah, they're very, very similar pieces. Bernini's Apollo and Daphne is a truly, truly beautiful piece.
It is. It's a wonderful example of Baroque sculpture. It's so dynamic and dramatic.
Well, thank you for listening. Goodbye.